He's straight up like.
Are we live?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then we're live. Good morning, everyone. I am laughing because we couldn't get, we're a little bit late. I apologize for that, but my computer sort of did funny things. And we couldn't get into the camera. We couldn't get into all sorts of things. We were relying on Al and Carolyn. I'm boasting now. Al and Carolyn were so stuck as to what to do. And I said, should we try switch the computer off and reboot? Whatever that might mean. I have no idea. And it worked, and here we are. So Al, good morning to Al, who is in Colorado.
Good morning.
We'll say good morning to Carolyn.
Good morning, Carolyn.
And of course, last but by no means least, we have to mention, of course, Great Eagle, who has been sending me messages all morning of one sort or another. I've been chatting to him, about various things this morning. So I know, and he has his hand on my shoulder as I'm talking to you. Al, what have you been doing this week? What's been up at your end this week?
I've been busy posting videos and doing some stuff on social networking. So excited getting myself out there with you and some others that I'm working with.
Well, good. That's good to know. What did you do this week, Carolyn? I can tell you what it's been doing. We've been burying our heads in photos today. All week long, right? Anything interesting that you've been doing at home today?
Getting prepared to fly to New Hampshire.
Oh yeah, she's clearing off. She's leaving me. She's going, she's having a vacation, which means I'm having a vacation, a little bit of a vacation as well. Although I've got work to do while she's away. But you're going to see your grandchild?
My new granddaughter. Yeah, she's a week old.
Okay. Do I need to click on something here? Am I all right there?
But I can't seem to find a live feed here. So, maybe here we are.
Okay. Carolyn's searching desperately on my iPad for us. But anyway, we are live.
I found us.
Good. We're there. So Carolyn's going off to New Hampshire, I think, on Saturday, did you say? Flying out to see her new baby. How old is she now? A week old or something? Yep. Oh, isn't that nice? And her name is?
Layla Jane.
Layla Jane. Oh, gosh. Takes me back to when my daughter was a baby and when my grandson was a baby. What about you, Al? Talking of new babies, does it take you back to those times of your babies, your 3 children?
Yes, every time I hear or see a little baby, I think about those times. Great time.
I know. I loved it. I absolutely. There's something about, well, your own baby. We did the Everything is Attitude last Friday. We talked about pets, and I did own up to the fact that although I love my own dogs, I'm not necessarily a dog lover. I don't necessarily love all dogs. In the same way, I don't necessarily love all kids. I like kids generally, but of course, my own I adore, and my own are the best ever, as every parent says, right, Al? Carolyn's going to agree with me here as well. There's something just sort of warm and cozy, and that smell of baby powder. Oh my goodness, right?
Yeah.
Right? Is that? Oh gosh. All right. So enough of this chattering about over nothing at all. Do we have anyone with us yet?
Lots and lots of people.
Lots and lots and lots of people. Okay. So Al, I know. Where are you actually? Are you in a cafe?
I am. A quiet one.
A quiet? I know. I did hear noises behind you a little bit ago, but yes, it does seem quiet, which is nice, right?
Yes.
Colorado at this time of the year must be gorgeous, mustn't it?
It is. Yep. About 60 or 70 every day, and sunny and just beautiful.
Perfect. I had a message from a friend of mine in England, Kay. I don't know if she's watching this morning, but she was in a bookstore sitting, I think she and her daughters were having coffee or something, and she said by a nice roaring fire which means it must be cold in England. No, it's a little bit chilly in New York as well, but here in Florida, well, it's still sort of beautiful, actually. It's 80 today, and people think, oh gosh, that's so hot. But actually, we're so close to the ocean, we're so close to the Gulf Coast that, you know, we're only like a mile away from the beach or something, and you get all those gorgeous Gulf breezes coming over us. It's the perfect time of year. It really is gorgeous right now. All right, so all of you out there, some of you warm and sunning yourselves in the sand, and some of you freezing and shivering and wearing your big coats and so on. Let's start. If we've got lots and lots of people, let's go. Al, why don't you go first? Let's ask the first question, please.
Sure. Brother Nate has a comment and a question.
Good morning, Nate.
He said, Sister Miss Rosemary, thank you so much, and Grey Eagle, for being helpful during my surgery in May. I am now much better so far, at least. And his question today is, have you thought about doing a book on those of us who have had ET alien experiences? I feel it would be rival a wonderful best-selling Rosemary and the Eagle book.
Well, thank you. It's a good suggestion. Unfortunately, though, I mean, I might like to. That sounds like a fascinating book to write, but I don't know that much about it. I'm not an expert in that sort of thing. As I've said before, I don't feel that I'm, you know, at all qualified to do anything like that. But thank you for the suggestion, and you know, and thank you, Nate, for, you know, for all your good thoughts and lovely comments that we get from you on your email and through these shows. Carolyn, why don't we ask another question?
Priscilla asks.
Priscilla, good morning.
Good morning, Rosemary. I'm excited to see you. My question, can kids sense a sibling in the making?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's a really good question, Priscilla. Good job with that one. Yes, not all children, but children who are sensitive, who are aware, or children who are particularly sensitive to their parents. Often children can tell us that even before they're in the making, if you know what I mean, even sometimes way before, children know if they're waiting for a brother or a sister or a sibling to come along. So yes, that's a good question. Yes, Al.
Laurie had a comment, but I'm waiting for her to explain a little bit more. Chris has a comment and question.
Good morning.
She said, met someone this morning who asked me, the Bible says talking to mediums is bad. How can I trust that the message is from the light as Satan comes in many disguises? How would you answer this?
It's not you saying, how can I trust? It's the person you were talking to, right? Saying, how can I trust?
That's correct. She said, yeah.
Sure that's what she means. You know, it's a good question, actually. When I first began doing this work, you know, since I can remember, since before I was 2 years old, my mother used to send us to a little church at the top of the street where we lived. And every Sunday afternoon we went to Sunday school, and she did it not because she's a religious person, never was a particularly religious person. We never in my household grew up with God or religion or any of those things, but you know, she had us 4 girls. We were younger. She'd already had two boys who were grown up, so now she had these 4 girls, and it was Sunday, and in those days you couldn't you couldn't switch on the TV any time of the day or night, and you certainly didn't have access to all the channels. But Sunday afternoon was movie time. I think it was the only time you could get a movie on TV. It was on Sunday afternoon, certainly in England. And so, you know, we were shipped off to the church so my mother could watch the Sunday movie. And it wasn't anything at all to do with, you know, whether or not she believed in God or thought we should have a religious education. However, that church became for me my family, totally my family. And I was very involved with the elders of the church. The church was the Church of Christ. It was a Baptist church, not like the Baptist churches that you get in America, which are very much louder and probably have more fun. But I had a wonderful church, and I was very blessed to have those people who ran the church who took me under their wing, and they were more my family, and I got more love and comfort from them than I ever did from my home. But when I first started this work, because through my church and through those wonderful people, I became a Sunday school teacher as I got older, and then I was very much involved with the church, very much had a connection to Christ. Christ was all to me and everything to me. I would talk to him every day, without fail, every day. And I was very, very, very much a believer in God, in Christ, in the fact that there was a man named by the name of Jesus Christ who came to this earth and who was an amazing healer. And I was very, very, involved with my church. So when, having read the Bible, understood the Bible as much as I could over the years, when I first began this work, of course, my one thought was that there was no way at all that I would do anything that was against God. And so trusting in God and trusting in Christ, which is, I think, something that we, many of us try to do. I asked God to guide me, to steer me, and that if this was wrong, to show me, absolutely show me the way. Now, here is the answer to the question, right? I believe in God, and I believe in Christ, and I believe in goodness, and I believe that because I believe, I have to put my money where my mouth is and trust, which is what I do. And so I have from the very beginning that God trusted that God would never lead me astray. He would tell me absolutely in one way or another if I was doing something wrong. And believe you me, in the beginning, I would ask and ask and ask. And I was very, very aware that, I totally trusted that God would show me the way. And I believe that he has. It might not be somebody else's way. Might not be your way. It might, but it is, as far as I'm concerned, it is God's way, and it is my way of working with God. And I feel very, very, very blessed that I have that wonderful and amazing relationship with God. The church tells you to trust in God. Well, that's what I do. And if God has led me down that evil path, well, I'd be very surprised, actually, because there's nothing evil in what I do. I'm a good person. I'm a kind person. I try to be good and to be kind. Grey Eagle teaches us that our world needs gentleness. If anybody can find anything bad in that, help yourself. Go for it. I won't listen to you. I know what is right because I have faith, and I live my faith every single day. And that's it. I feel as if I'm sitting here giving a sermon and all. Yeah. All right, Carolyn. That was a very, very good question, and thank you, Chris, for that.
So Laurie had written in and asked for some healing for her friend Joanne, who lost her son Alex in a bad car accident a year ago, and also her friend Jen, whose son was in that accident and has been recovering. And she was just saying that she's had signs from Alex, but it's really a tough weekend for her. She's gone off to the family farm.
Okay, so all right, so Alex is
Joanna's son.
The boy who died?
Yes.
And there's another boy who's recovering, is that right?
Yes.
I usually, and I did mention them in our Hands Around the World healing time this morning. But there are so many people who write to us, and so many people who are suffering the same things. And it's a year ago. There are so many people who think, well, they should be recovering by now. Then they should, no, you never, ever recover the loss of a child, ever. Doesn't matter what anybody tells you, you will never, ever, ever recover from that. But what you will learn to do, darling, you will learn to live with it. And if we can help in any way, please let us know and email us, rosemary@rosemaryltea.com. But you will learn to live with it. I know that he's safe. I know because Gregor knows. I know that he's safe and I know that he's okay. Now, there's a boy who's also recovering, but not only recovering from the physical and the emotional situation that he was in a year ago, he's also probably suffering the grief. You know, it's a terrible thing when you're in an accident and you survive. I know that sounds weird, but sometimes it's a terrible thing to survive because you're surviving, but you have all this guilt and this awful feeling of how come I got to live. So if I can reassure you that they also get to live, and they're home with God, they're in a safe place, they're in a good place. So, you know, try to understand if you can. It's very hard when you're involved in something like this. Try to understand if you can that, you know, I just talked about God, right? I just talked about my faith. If I could just give you a little of my faith, you know, send it over these waves to you, I would. But please know you are in our prayers, you're in our thoughts, and you're in our healing list. And I'm sure that your son is going to recover. And I think it's going to make him a stronger and a more sensitive person eventually. And I think it's going to, you know, sort of just make him, give him that inner strength that maybe he needs to live the rest of his life. But please don't think, all of you out there, those of you who have survived or know someone who has survived an accident when other people did not survive, you know, it is perfectly natural and ordinary to feel that guilt, but there's no need, because those who have left us are having their own great time too. Al, question.
So we have Paul with us, our Paul.
Good morning, Paul. It's
says,
our Paul and it's our Chris. And
yeah, exactly. And the
it's our
people,
Nate. I don't even know Nate except through the
Paul was on the show, and we do things outside of this.
Yeah.
So Paul says, "Hi, Rosemary. Hello from the Canary Islands. I'm on holiday with my parents, and we are watching the show."
I do believe it's Tenerife. But yes, go ahead. Nice. I love Tenerife.
The question comes from my mom, Angela. She says, I dreamt my son came to me and said, "Why didn't you tell me, Mom?" referring to the fact he was going to die. I feel terrible guilt around his passing. What does my dream mean? Thank you.
Well, I actually, I do know Angela. I think I said hi. I do know her from a long time ago. You know, I know that having lost a child is the worst possible thing that anyone can have to live with. The guilt it's inevitable. It's not founded, but it's inevitable because you're the mum. So, and you know, you're the parent, and so, you know, I'm sure, Paul, that your dad is feeling the same way. It's your job. It's your job to protect your children. It's your job to do right by them. You know, your kids are supposed to survive you. They're supposed to outlive you. That you have them and you nurture them and you bring them up the best way you can, and then they're supposed to, you know, go on and continue on with, you know, with their lives after we have gone. That's the natural order of things, is what we think. So the guilt, you know, if only I'd have done this, if I could have done that, and so on and so forth. So Angela, please, you know, I know you, and I know that you did the very best that you could do. It might not have been amazing. You might not be the best mum in the world. I'm not the best mum in the world. My grandson thinks I'm the best grandmother in the world, but you know, we're not. We know we make mistakes and we know we do things wrong, but please don't beat yourself up about it, darling, because I think, well, I know, in fact, because I've spoken to your son. I've spoken to both of your sons. I've spoken to Paul and I've spoken to his brother on a number of occasions, and I know that he's fine. I don't think that he's come to say, you know, why didn't you tell me that I was going to die? I think it's much more about, you know, why are you still feeling guilty? I think, you know, I think that the way you have interpreted the dream has a lot to do with the way that you're feeling guilty. I know absolutely, and I say I know your son, and he's here with us this morning. Don't usually do this, but he's right here with us, and Grey Eagle is right here with us, and I know absolutely that he's safe, that he's well. I also have to give you this message, which I, again, don't usually do, but he wants me to tell you that he's sorry for all of the stuff and, you know, what that's about. But if you have any doubts that he's safe and well, he's asking me to tell you he's fine, and he's blowing kisses to you, Paul. He also thought the show was good. He wants to mention he's laughing about the show we did. So, Al, let's have another question. I hope that makes you feel better, Angela. He loves you very much. I know the anniversary is probably coming up fairly soon. Please don't beat yourself up anymore. There's no need. He loves you. All right, Al.
Oh, so we have Ina.
Good morning, Ina.
She says, hi, good evening here. I guess it's evening where she is. Is it true that spirits visit their wake or funeral? Are they curious about what people say about them in the eulogy? Thank you.
Oh, that's a great question. I love that question. I don't know where you are, but yes, good evening to you. It's actually morning here for us. It's even earlier morning for Al, right? He's 2 hours behind us in Colorado. Yes, you know, I once had a man come to me, and his, I think it was his, I can't remember which of his family had come for a consultation. And of course, when they book the consultation, people have to book their consultations months, sometimes years ahead of time. So nobody quite knows what's going on the day of the consult. But anyway, a couple of members of his family came for the consult, and he came through from the spirit world to talk to them. And he actually told me, it's my funeral today, and I've been, but they're all hypocrites, so I left. That's what he had to say about the eulogy. The reason he thought they were hypocritical was because apparently he was ill for a long time, and a lot of his family did not come to see him. Let me be clear about this, all right? I don't think, you know, probably he was a bit upset because, you know, I think people who he'd thought would, you know, would be good friends and good family to him weren't there when he needed them. But sometimes there's a really good reason for that. Sometimes people are so afraid of talking to someone who's sick and dying. Someone, you know, people, I mean, I had a patient of mine who was upset because she walked down the street one day and her good friends of hers saw her coming and crossed over to the other side of the road. And she felt really, you know, desperate and alone, and really felt really snubbed. And I explained to her that some people are just simply afraid. They don't know what to say, number one. It's almost as if, you know, it's not that it's catching. It's not that death is catching, but it's that, you know, that people don't want to face the fact that somebody else is dying because that could be them. You know, it brings reality home. Here is a healthy young woman 1 minute, riddled with cancer the next, or so it seems to people. And if they get involved, or they, you know, they sort of face the fact that someone, especially someone they like or someone they know or someone they love, is dying with this horrible disease, that if it can happen to them, it can happen to me. So there are a lot of people who bury their head in the sand and pretend that things aren't happening, simply because they're afraid. They're afraid to face the fact that they too are human, and this could also be happening to them. But a lot of people in the spirit world do go to their own funeral. They want to be close to their loved ones who they know are suffering, and they're trying. I've not been to many funerals. I try not to go to too many, but with the funerals I've been to, I'll often see the person. I'll see the coffin there, and I'll see the person standing next to the coffin looking at me and winking and smiling and just happy to be there, but trying also to say to me, would you just let them know I'm okay, I'm here and I'm okay? Do they listen to the eulogies? Of course they do. And each individual has their own opinion of what other people say about them. It's interesting, isn't it? I've also known once or twice people having a funeral before they die. because they want to know what people are going to say about them. And that's, you can do that too. If, if you know that you're going to die, you don't have to wait to have the service. You can, have all of that. It's called a celebration of life, actually, much more. But, you can have a lot of fun with that. There's no reason why people can't do that too. That's a good question. I love that question. Thank you. Carolyn.
Vicky asks,
good morning, Vicky.
Everyone has forks in the road. How do you get the courage to choose a new path when you believe you went the wrong way?
Oh, gosh. Yes. Well, that's tough. Sometimes it's not even a fork in the road. It's sometimes that two roads are running parallel side by side. And sometimes it can be very daunting to step off of this path onto this path. It can be very daunting. It can be very scary. However, if you know that you're on the wrong path, and if you feel that you're on the wrong path, you've then got two choices. And this is about attitude, isn't it, Al? Everything is attitude, which the show that we do on Fridays, 6 o'clock, Standard Eastern Time, Al and I have an Everything is Attitude show. And I think if you know that you're on the wrong path, you have to, you can have two choices. You can continue down it, knowing that it's the wrong thing, but being too much of a coward, because that's what it is. Nothing wrong with being a coward, not criticizing people for going down that road, but it's extremely hard. And I understand why people stay on that road, even though they know it isn't the right road for them. I had a lady who came to me continually being badly beaten by her husband over and over again. And there's nothing I can say to you if there's nothing more I can say. Once I've said, get off that path, there's nothing more I can say, because she continued to stay on that path. That's her choice. So you can make that choice and be miserable, or you can be, sort of a little bit brave. As Grey Eagle would say, it's a bit like jumping off a cliff. We're talking about trust. Here we go again. We're talking about trust. If you trust that God loves you, if you trust that there is a God, if you trust that there are angels, and even if you don't trust in any of that, if you can learn to trust in your own self, take the leap of faith. Take the leap of faith in your own self, in your own abilities, and literally hop off the path, get on the other path. You can do it. It just requires a lot of courage. But if you really are desperate and you don't want to end up alone and miserable and wasting your life, we only have one, We have this life. We spend a lot of it on this earth. We spend a lot more of it somewhere else, but still we're accountable for making the best or the worst of what we're given here. Life is a gift. Don't waste it. Get on the right path. Just leap off of one and get onto the other. It doesn't have to be a fork in the road. Roads can run parallel. And there's no reason why you can't just say halfway down that fork, you know what? I don't want to do this. And you find another fork. If you don't want to go down that road, another fork will present itself and you'll go down that one. Be brave is what I'm saying. Al.
Okay, we have another question from Ina, actually, a very good question. In the afterlife, do they, I'm assuming spirits, see and understand each other regardless of what is the nationality? Are they interested in knowing other people, or is it not necessary anymore?
Well, it's not necessary. You can choose. We've got choices. Remember, everybody has choices. But there is a universal language. That is the language that I use when I connect with people in the spirit world, because, especially if I have a Japanese client, which I've had, or doesn't matter, German or French, or I don't speak fluent any other language but my own. I used to speak pretty good French, but not so much anymore. I think, if you don't use it, you lose it. So how do I speak to those people all over the world who come to me for a consultation? I mean, I have more difficulty with the people who are still on this earth than I have with the people in the spirit world. People in the spirit world, I understand perfectly. We have this fabulous universal language. I understand them totally. It's it's, you know, a lot of people have to get an interpreter when they come to see me. A lot of people who are on this earth have to get an interpreter so that we can understand, you know, they can understand what it is I'm saying to them. But yes, you know, universal language. And, you know, you have choices. If you don't want to get involved with people once you're there, you don't have to. And if you do, you can. Karen.
That's me. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Nettie wrote in and asked,
Good morning, Nettie.
since our souls are still evolving, does that mean that a main purpose here, our main purpose here on earth, is to evolve our souls as well? And how do we do that?
Every day. Yes, it does mean that our soul is evolving. That's why we're here. We're here to learn, to grow, to become more of who we can possibly be. We're here to nurture our soul, to nurture our spirit. And how do we do it? We do it by taking the opportunities as they come to us on an everyday basis. We take an opportunity to be good, to be kind, to be gentle, to be loving. We take the opportunities to, you know, sometimes the learning process is about struggle, because through our struggles and our heartache and our pain, we grow, we learn. Even when we're going through a struggle, there are a lot of people who choose after a struggle, after a difficulty or whatever, they choose to become bitter. They are embittered and they become mean and they become closed off. It's your choice. Don't do that. Choose to become light, choose to become bright, choose to become good. You know, I had an incident that happened to me, and I remember somebody saying to me, well, you know, you're not going to trust anybody again, are you? You won't do that again, will you? And I have to say, I actually will do that again. Because if I allow someone else's meanness and greed and nastiness towards me to affect who I am, then in my opinion, they win. Boy, do I ever lose big time. So, you know, I choose very much to trust, to be open. And it's cost me from time to time, but I'd rather be open and caring and trusting and, you know, welcoming and inviting than to be closed off and to become embittered. So I choose to be the best that I can be. Remember, Gregor says to us, our world needs gentleness. So I tried my very best to show that gentle side of me. Al.
We have a comment from Jamie.
Good morning, Jamie.
He says, I just wanted to say that I'm so inspired and honored by you, Rosemary, for doing the work that you do and for inspiring the other people that you also inspire. As a medium, I really look up to you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I love those nice comments. I like the ones where it says you've got great legs, Rosemary. Not really. No, just kidding. Thank you very much. And so that's very nice of you. It's very sweet of you. And you know what we try to do, which is what we've been talking about all morning, is we try to be a good example for other people. I was talking to someone the other day about their kids, and they're having a struggle with their kids. And I've said this so many times, I'll say it again. Our children do not learn by what we say. They learn by what we do. So if we talk to them about not being mean and if we talk to them about not shouting, but yet then we shout and we are mean, they're going to learn by what they see us doing and how they see us behaving. So we all have to try if we can. And it's not easy by any means. I mean, you know, I can be as, I'll try not to be mean, but I can be as picky and as critical as other people, you know, not always as kind as I would like to be, especially in situations where it might involve my family. Then I become that protective tiger. And I'm not always nice in those situations, but I try to be. So we have to try. And even if we fail again and again and again, as long as we keep trying to be not judgmental, to stand back and to understand that we don't know the entire situation or ways of a thing. Our children deserve us to give them the best example we can possibly give them. Carolyn.
Donna wrote.
Good morning,
said,
Donna.
They've had a couple of birthday parties in this last year, and she felt that her mom was visiting that day from above, and her brother and her auntie, and she's
Wow.
looking for confirmation.
Yes, without a doubt, Donna. I mean, I can say it without a doubt because I know that, you know, those in the spirit world, they love to see us. They love to see those family times, those family gatherings. You know, they love to see the happy times and they love to celebrate with us. And I'm sure, Donna, that your family in the spirit world absolutely joins you. And hold on a minute, because Greg was saying something to me here about drinking. There's something about, I don't know what that is, he means. Oh, sometimes the drinks, Donna, no idea what I'm talking about here, but I'm giving you this message. I think it comes from your mum. Sometimes the drinks are too strong. Just saying. If you understand that message, we'd love to hear back from you. Just say, that's what I'm hearing. Al, I'm wondering how the drinks could possibly be too strong. But anyway, Al.
So we have a question from X2 Pro. I don't know what the name is, but X2 Pro.
I'm going to call you Chloe because that's what I like. Hi, darling. Whoever you are, hi.
And so, interesting question about natural disasters. Hello, I'm from Mexico City. And they ask, can you feel an earthquake coming to Mexico City?
You mean, can I
I guess, can you feel it? But I would ask, is it possible to know when natural disasters are coming too?
Yes, it is possible to know. If for instance, in my case, certainly, if Grey Eagle was to, certainly has told me from time to time. He once told me about an awful plane crash, and I knew about it 3 days before it then actually happened. And he was telling me this, and I was telling my friends what he was saying, and then the next thing I know, a couple of days later or so, we heard the news on the TV. Now, I questioned, why am I being told about this? Am I supposed to do something? Am I supposed to call the air ministry? What am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to warn? Am I being told this for a reason? But I think the reason, because there was nothing I could do about it, and I know that it was an inevitability, and the reason I was told about it was because it was one of the inevitables in life, that no matter what, we couldn't change it. And I think, you know, doing the work that I do, I have had to come to that understanding of the fact that some things are meant to happen and there is absolutely nothing that we can do to change it. Carolyn.
Light Switch asks,
Good morning, Light Switch. How can I call you Light Switch? Come on, be nice to me. Don't you? I let you call me Rosemary.
I've asked them to explain what they mean specifically, but the question was, do doves mean anything?
Do doves mean anything? They absolutely do. It's so strange that you should ask the question, because this morning, I think I said at the beginning of this show, I said I've been chatting to Grey Eagle this morning, and we were actually talking specifically about birds and how birds are very, very important in bringing messages. Doves, of course, are symbols of peace and harmony. If you're seeing a dove, or you keep having a dove coming into your vision or whatever, somebody in the spirit world is obviously wishing you peace and joy, because that's what doves mean. But yes, birds are very important to us, very important to me this morning. Al.
Donna responded to your to what you had mentioned to her. She said, "Thank you, Rosemary. You are so right. LOL. My mom telling me too much to drink. Thank you."
Oh, Donna, I'm sorry. well, good. I'm glad you understood that message, because I did not. Well, good. I'm glad you got that. Well, I think I'm glad you got that. I think I'm going to have a drink. No, just kidding. Just teasing. I don't drink a great deal, actually. But anyway, all right. Although we do have, and I did send to my sister and my brother, we have a little cocktail section in the cookbook. And I sent my sister and my brother 2 of the recipes. One is the rock the boat float. Yes, I know. So I like to have fun with these things, which is a root beer with rum, which is really good, really simple, and ice cream, root beer, and rum. That's the recipe, but we call it the rock the boat float because if you're going to rock your boat, you need a little bit more rum than maybe you might think you do, but sip it slowly. And my father also used to make the best hot toddy ever. If you don't know what a hot toddy is, you're going to have to get the recipe. If you want the recipe, it's really simple and easy. Just email us, Rosemary at rosemaraltea.com, and we'll send you the recipe for the hot toddy and for the rock the boat float. Al, what do you think of that?
That sounds like a great idea.
All right, let's have a question because that was just a comment. Give me a question, can you?
Hey, sure. We have Ina. Ina has another question, and I think we've answered all other questions. So we'll go to a third question from Ina. Here in the Philippines, we have a belief after 40 days of death, a soul comes to heaven. But one religion believes that after death, souls sleep until the second coming of Christ. What is your opinion here?
I do know of this belief, and all I can tell you is this. I can only speak of my own experience, and I would never question other people's religious beliefs because what is your belief is your belief. And if that, I don't expect anyone to, you can criticize me all you like, but you won't change my belief. And my belief is born on a lot of experience. From those early days of going to church, my view of the world, my view of God, my view of Christ has broadened, but never diminished the faith, only made it more so, which I'm very fortunate of. So I'm not here to criticize anyone else's religious beliefs or faith. All right. However, this business of going to sleep, until the second coming of Christ and all the rest of it, I know personally, my own experience tells me that that is absolutely not so because of the amount of people in the spirit world over the years that I have spoken to, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, if they were waiting for the second coming of Christ, then how come I can talk to them? How come I can, converse with them? So my own belief is that no, that I wanted to say it's a nonsense. I want to say it's a nonsense, but I don't want to disparage your beliefs. So I'm a bit stuck here. But anyway, so to me, I can only say that no, I have spoken to people within, and the 40-day thing as well. Also, I don't buy into that one either because I have spoken to people within an hour or two even, and occasionally less. After they have passed into the spirit world, I have spoken to them. I've spoken to people who are in a coma waiting for the cord to break and then they leave us. I've spoken to people in, many occasions and in many situations. Some people do take a while to connect, but it's because very often they've not had the opportunity. My puppies just come to snuggle up to me. Sometimes, people in the spirit world don't have the opportunity to make themselves known. Their families maybe are afraid to connect with them or maybe feel that they shouldn't connect with them. There's this belief of, don't disturb the dead. Well, I hope somebody disturbs me because I'm not going to lay down and die and not be heard of again because as soon as I'm gone, where my first visit is going to go. My first visit is going to go to my daughter and to my grandson, without a doubt. And that'll happen, I'm hoping, if I'm allowed, please let me be allowed. I'm hoping that will be within a very, very short space of time. If I've got to wait for 40 days, I die. Just kidding. All right. Carolyn?
Yes, Noreen just
We're
joined
getting
us.
some great questions this morning. I love you all for these questions. Noreen? I haven't heard that name in a long time. That's a very old name. I love that name. I had a neighbor who was a Noreen. Yes.
She says, good morning, Rosemary.
Good morning.
Some people believe that we have gender fluidity and some do not. Are our souls set in gender?
No.
And is it possible for a male soul to be placed in a female body or vice versa?
Our soul is not gender oriented. I'm just checking with Greg just to make sure, and he tells me to just keep going with this. But if you read soul signs, not that we talk about gender or as the soul is created, as the soul is created from all these different types of energy, it has nothing to do with gender. And I do think that it's possible that a male, not a male soul, because it's not gender oriented. But I do feel that it's possible to have a, how can I put it? It's possible for a more masculine spirit to enter a female. I'd have to think about that. I'll have to talk to Greg about that. We don't have quite the time, but yes, it is. I think it's certainly possible not to have confusion, but for the soul to be placed in a situation where confusion is what, or seeming confusion is what is needed for them to learn and for them to grow, and for their spirit to become more bright, more understanding, more sensitive, and so on. We're all placed in situations in order that we can grow, and sometimes adversity is the best food for growth. Al?
Paul says,
Explain that, okay? I'm not sure if I did, but I hope I did. Yes. Paul says.
Paul says, Mum says thank you. The anniversary for my brother is tomorrow. It is his birthday today.
Oh, okay. Well, when we talk about anniversaries, a birthday is also an anniversary. It's an anniversary of the day that you're born. So when he mentioned, Paul, when your brother mentioned anniversaries, he's probably, well, the two are tied together so closely. So can you do a favor? This is for your mother and for your father, and the message for you too. Can you please celebrate today? And send me a vodka tonic on the way. I'll take one of those. I'll celebrate with you, but please celebrate, because he's doing really well and he wants you to do very well. He knows that your mum is struggling with this, but hopefully after this morning, she'll have a better day today and a better day tomorrow. Celebrate today, celebrate tomorrow, because although I know it's a very sad time for people, the anniversary of a person's passing is a very sad time, but at the same time, your brother's having such a great time, Paul. He's good. He wants you to celebrate his life continuing if you can. Hard, I know. Do you have a question there, Al?
Yeah, we actually have a question from Claudia.
Good morning, Claudia. Claudia, yeah, okay.
Do spirits who pass away suffer when knowing that their loved ones are grieving their death? My mother passed away a year ago in November, and I'm still grieving. I can't help it or control it.
Claudia. I wish I knew how to say it. Claudia, however, just because I want to read through there and get hold of you now, give you a big hug. I think that, and I'm asking Gregor how I should answer you with this one. And as I'm talking to you, I do see very brief glimpses of a lady out of the corner of my eye there. Whether this is your mother or not, I don't know. I'm not going to say it isn't, not going to say it isn't. However, this is a message for you, darling. Yes, those in the spirit world, they do suffer when they see us so sad and so much in pain. They do suffer. When you say you can't do anything about it, I'm going to disagree with you just a little bit, and I'm not taking away your grief, because losing your mum must have been so hard for you. But this is what you can do to help your mom. This is not about helping you. This is, although it will, hopefully. But our loved ones in the spirit world do grieve when they see us grieving. They do. But at the same time, they allow for the fact that you do need to grieve. There's nothing wrong with grieving. Don't listen to all those people who say, you know, now buck up and get over it. No, you're not going to do that. Of course you're not. Not going to do that. I'm not suggesting that you should do that. I'm going to suggest that you don't wallow in your grief. In other words, make it much worse than it needs to be. So I'm going to give you a little tip. As often as you can during the day, when you think about your mummy and that you love her, would you understand that she hates to see you crying? So could you, even through your tears, even through your heartache, could you smile for her a little bit every day? You could maybe smile for her in the morning. You could maybe smile for her a little bit. You can still cry, but just keep smiling at her. Give her those smiles, because through those smiles, she'll be reassured that you're getting a little bit stronger, a little bit more stronger. Don't let go of your grief. You don't have to let go of the grief. I'm not suggesting that you should. If you want, you know, to grieve, I understand it. Don't let go of it. You're okay. As long as you can smile for her a little bit. Please, please, please. I feel this lovely lady standing right in front of me is just asking you to try to smile a little bit, even though your heart is breaking, because it does get easier. You will never get over losing her, but you will learn to live with it eventually. And don't listen to all those people who tell you, oh, it's time now, you've got over it. No, grief is grief. You hold on to it if you want to, but don't wallow in it. Do good things every day, something good every day. Think about what your mom would love you to do, what would make her smile, what would make her happy. I know when I'm gone, what will make me smile and make me happy is if my daughter and my grandson started making his favourite chocolate-covered shortbreads, thinking of me as they're doing it. That would make me smile. Think about the things that might make your mum smile and try and do a few of those, would you? Because it will help you, it will make you stronger. You know she's watching you, you know she's watching over you, so please do that. Karen.
Teresa says,
Good morning, Teresa.
Good morning, Rosemary. I was married 54 years and my husband just passed.
Oh, gosh.
Will we still be married in heaven? Thank you.
Oh, what's this lady's name? Teresa?
Teresa.
Teresa? Yes, of course. You know this. Why are you asking me this question? You know perfectly well that he loves you very much. Greg has put his hand on my shoulder once again. He's wagging his finger at you now, Teresa. Oh, this is trouble. You know that he loves you. Oh, darling, I would love to be there to give you a big hug and tell you, but he is with you. He's right by your side. He's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere until it's your turn, which is in a little while yet. So don't try hurrying it along either. Don't sit there at the night time saying, oh, why didn't he take me? Why didn't I go first? No. You've still got some stuff to do. You've still got some family issues to sort out, haven't you? But that's okay. You'll do it. Are you still married? Absolutely. I'm asking, sometimes it's not the case. I shouldn't just, yes, apparently, according to Gregor, he's, and also I'm glimpsing someone here, he's waiting for you, and you know it, He loves you. Al, let's have one more quick question, shall we? Or maybe two even. We were a bit late this morning.
So we have Ishani.
Ishani, good morning.
Why do some persons suffer miserably at the time of death while others die really peacefully?
All part of the learning process. I have to tell you that at the point where we actually leave our body, our suffering, our physical suffering ends in that moment. But sometimes we're still, even at the end, we're still learning and we're still growing. And just would like to mention a wonderful, wonderful lady who was in her 90s, a very, very good friend of mine. His mother passed. She was an amazing woman. And Massimo, I love you very much. He's probably not listening to this, but please let the family know that she's okay. He knows that anyway, but this lady passed peacefully in her sleep. Well, maybe her suffering came when she was younger. I know that it did. I don't know the answer to that, really, except that it's part of the growth process, but I can assure you that the moment, if not just prior to that moment when the cord is broken, there is no pain. It's gone. No physical pain. Sometimes people that have no physical suffering have a lot of emotional pain, a lot of emotional trauma going on. So be careful, when you talk about people suffering and not suffering. We can't judge the situation, and we shouldn't, nor should we try. Carolyn?
Rosie Puppy Love.
Rosie, yes.
I think you are awesome, Rosemary.
Oh, thank you.
I have had an owl knock on my window several times in the past years.
Whoa.
What do you think owls mean?
Absolute wisdom and joy, and I think you've got somebody tapping on your window saying hello to you, someone from the spirit world. How fantastic. How wonderful is that? I'm sure that, I'm sure he's not there every day. I'm sure he's not, it may be only half a dozen times that it's happened to you. I think that, when we see birds, I always think, for me, especially large birds, but with small birds, when we see birds, they bring a message to us. And it's up to us to just then to watch and to wait and to see, because I'm sure, if you think about this carefully, darling, Rosie, I'm sure that if you think about it, every time the owl taps on your window, within a few days, maybe a week or two, something happens. It could be something that's really great that happens within the family, or it could be something that is not so great, but he's bringing a message to you. So pay attention and see, because I'm sure that every time birds come to us, they bring us a message of some sort or another, and it's up to us to work out. That's why I was talking to Gregor this morning. It's up to us to work out, why did I see that bird this morning? Al, another question.
A couple comments. We have a comment from Paul. He said he will. They will, LOL. We have Teresa that says, "Oh, Rosemary, you are right on." Teresa.
Oh,
Teresa?
yes.
Yeah, she lost it.
Gregor rarely wagged his finger, but he was wagging his finger at you, Teresa. So that means pay attention, young lady. Yes, I'm sorry, Al, I cut you off. Go ahead.
That's okay. And we have Donna says, "I had a daughter at 6 months pregnant 15 years ago. I see her as a 15-year-old now. Is she as I see her? Louis Lee, I named her. And is she with my family above?"
Is she what? Is she with?
My family above.
I could so easily just say yes. I'm asking Gregor, and apparently, Donna, I think you're asking me a question you already know the answer to. I'm so glad that you see her. She's growing. She's growing with you. She's growing with your family, and she's still part of your life very much. So I'm so thrilled for you, darling, that you're able to see her. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. A lot of people there will be thinking, oh, come on, it's wishful thinking. But I can assure you, Donna, it is not. You are seeing her. You do see her. Yes, she is with your family. She is safe. And I think that she's very much your daughter, very much living, very much alive, and very much involved with you and with your family. Don't let anyone tell you any different. We've got one more question, I think. Yes, I said that 2 questions ago. Quick. Any more?
Karen's asking about the cookbook. Your friend Karen.
Karen, what about it? We're
going to be out for Christmas?
All the recipes are done, right? All the recipes are done. All the photos are almost done, and we're like at that. We're going to, in the next week, we're going to be sending it off to to be published. Then it comes back. Then we have to check all the prints and so on and so forth. Will it be ready for Christmas? Yes. But let me just say this to you all of you would-be cooks out there. I would love to be able to tell you that this cookbook is so inexpensive. Unfortunately, it's costing us such a lot of money to do it. It is not going to be a cheap cookbook. It's going to cost at least $70. I know it sounds like a lot, but trust me, it's costing me the same. So I'm not making a profit on this. I might be making $5. Actually, I'm making a loss on it because that's not covering all the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours that Carolyn has I've had to pay Carolyn for her work. So we're not making any profit on this. However, what we are going to do with the cookbook, we are going to sort of cut it into probably 4 or 6 sections and put it on what?
Ebooks.
Ebooks. We are going to put it on ebooks. You won't get the photos. We are putting some family photos in there as well as the food photos. But we're doing our best. Thank you, Karen, for that. And thank you for advertising. All of you out there who do not know what to buy someone for Christmas, we're going to do a little advertising of myself. Remember, my new book is A Walk in the Clouds by me, of course. And it's great. I know that a lot of you out there have already read it, but it's a great Christmas gift. Just a heads up. And if you want to know more about that or where to get it from,
Lulu.com.
Lulu.com. You can get it from Lulu.com, or you can email us and we'll tell you more about it. Rosemary at RosemaryAltea.com. Al, do you want to say anything else before we close?
No, I'm good.
Are you good?
Thank you, everyone.
We have our, come on, Al, you're supposed to do this bit. We have our show tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Standard Eastern Time. Everything is Attitude, with my co-host Al Pisano, right, Al? If you want more info on that, info at everythingisattitude.com. And if you'd like to be on that show, participate, or if you have a situation where you really feel you could use help with your attitude, please email us at everythingisattitude.com and we'll do our best to help you out. And we hope to see you tomorrow night, right, Al?
Yes, it got a little loud in here, so I'm being brief.
Okay, that's okay. All right, so I think we're good. We're good.
You're still going to have regular next Thursday's show?
Yes.
Yes, just
of
wanted
course.
to make sure.
Of course, we're stuck with it. We love that you love it. Thank you very much. We'd love you to subscribe. Please subscribe, because that gives us the opportunity. The more subscriptions we have, the more we are able to do on YouTube for you and also, of course, for us. In the meantime, until I see you all again next week, please have a very, very, very blessed day. Please remember there is a teenage boy who had a stroke. If you could just, as soon as I click off, if you could just say a little prayer for him, all of you out there, and ask everybody you know to say a little prayer for this boy, we would be very, very grateful. Have a very, very blessed day. I will see you all again next Thursday, God willing. And I've got to find that little arrow. There it is. I'll see you then.